Hello! In this video I'm going to be talking all about emotion and customer loyalty, customer retention and engagement. If you're working at a company right now and you are under a lot of pressure to hit short-term commercial gains, yet at the same time, because of things like losing cookies, the shift to first-party data, all sorts of different nonsense going on at the bottom of the funnel, spiking media costs, and you're really under pressure, you're probably thinking to yourself, I have got so many fires to put out right now. I've got so many things that I need to cover across so many different areas, and it can be completely overwhelming, and you may end up feeling like I've just got to hit these numbers, otherwise I'm going to get fired like the last person. Well, I'm hoping that in this video I can share with you something that might help it be just a little bit easier, a little bit more clarity. What I'm trying to offer here in this video is a simple way of taking all that complexity and going back to the source and understanding what it is that you can focus on that's going to help you find your way through. And essentially it's emotion, it's value creation. Now, both those words can sound quite nebulous, but I'm going to break it down for you in this video, so just hold fire. Before I do that, just let you know who I am. My name's Rob. I'm the founder of Source 9 Insights. We're a strategic insights consultancy. We specialize in understanding emotional insight. We've got a model that helps us to unlock the hidden logic of emotion. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron. And I've spent a long time working in strategy. I used to work at a university and regularly had to defend strategic decision making to rooms full of the most world-leading researchers you could imagine, which is incredibly intimidating, but also taught me a great deal about the importance of insight and strategy and then tactics and the difference between the three. So what I'm going to do in this video is to talk to you about the insights and how those directly relate to strategy, and how having a really clear focus and understanding from that insight can allow you to integrate your strategies and make it a lot more efficient and effective to know what to focus on, what's really going to move the needle, and what's going to make your life a little bit easier. Let's think about strategy, not tactics. Strategy is essentially having an informed opinion about how to win. It has to be informed. There has to be insight behind it. There needs to be evidence. What we're seeing more and more in the market is just huge amounts of data. Huge, overwhelming amounts of data about who, what, when, where, how, but not necessarily why. And that is a crucial missing piece of the puzzle that's been lost in the rush to develop more and more descriptive digital data because we can. And it is super useful. I love it. I use it all the time. I collect as much as I can, but it's not enough. Unless you understand why people are doing what they're doing, all that descriptive data just diminishes and it leaves gaps for assumptions and guesswork. That means that your strategy is not as robust as it could be. Plugging that gap on the why is all about understanding emotional motivations. And for the longest time, emotions have felt like this woo-woo topic that many people in the industry don't even want to admit that they have, yet everybody knows is incredibly important to, well, everything that they do. Now, that's because our old paradigm of emotion is just wrong. That whole idea that there are stimuli out in the world that cause some sort of hardwired emotional reaction in me that I don't really understand, and part of my brain lights up for sadness and another part for happiness, it's not true. I'll make another video all about what is true and how emotions really are created. But suffice to say that they're constructed, and it's all about perception. So because emotion has traditionally been so difficult, and because so few people are now on the new paradigm that's been born out of neuroscience around the work of people like Lisa Feldman Barrett, I'll leave a note to her book in the notes below this. There's a whole new way of engaging with emotion that actually makes it seem really, really logical. When we understand that it's all based on perception, and when it's a reaction and a response to meanings that we're creating as a result of the way that we're interpreting the world, and that those interpretations are nested in the narratives and the beliefs that we have. It then opens up a whole new way of understanding what emotions are, which I'm going to share with you later. But essentially what's happening is, because it's been so complicated and difficult and woo-woo to say with any sort of like coherence what emotions are and how it works, that's usually left out of the decision making. Yet we know from the science that every decision is an emotional decision. Emotion plays some role because of context and relation that it's going to be affecting people, and it is fundamentally what drives us and drives our behaviors. So what's happening is across industries, people are focusing on data, on what? On description, but not on motivation. The other thing to say about strategy is that it's really important that we start from a place of understanding why things are the way that they are, and then we work out what to do. Now, when it comes to human beings, understanding why things are the way that they are means that we have to understand what is moving people, what is motivating people, why they're doing what they're doing, and that's why emotional motivation is so important. Now, what I'm going to do is just remind you, because I know that you know this already, that people don't buy things, people buy the way that they make them feel. So again, the more that we can understand those emotional experiences, and the more that we can connect with our customers on a human and emotional level, the greater we can encourage that connection, that loyalty, and that sense of trust. And most importantly, the more value that we can create, because essentially all of this comes down to the ability to create and communicate value. What is value? Well, price is what you pay, and value is what you get. It's the feeling, it's the experience. Value is essentially help, and it's a feeling. It's why people pay good money, say £500 for a Dyson hairdryer, as opposed to a £25 hairdryer that equally dries your hair. The difference in price is because of the difference in perceived value. And how is that perceived value created? Through emotion. This is why emotional insight is more than just fluff. It's more than just something we can shy away from, just focus on our proxies and hit our numbers. Once you dig into emotion and understanding the psychology of it, you see how it feeds into everything. Then all of a sudden, all of those touch points that you may be worried about in terms of personalization, in terms of hitting performance goals, brand awareness goals, in terms of all the different plates that you're currently spinning, if you can come back to a place of recognizing that all of them come from creating and communicating value, that's what's going on at the insight level that you can then create strategies around. It will give you a way of looking at all of those different touch points with that same North Star, because each category is essentially offering strategies for meeting unmet emotional needs. And if you know what those emotional needs are, and you can see how the category is responding to them, the strategies that it's offering up to customers for meeting those needs, you can then start to see how well all those different competitors and your own brand are doing in meeting those emotional needs. You can focus in on what the actual value is that's being created in that space, and ultimately what the emotional transformation is that is being sought after by customers. And essentially, what is the emotional job to be done that they're really buying? So let's show you how it works. Based on the empathy framework, we use 9 emotional needs that are essentially the driving force of everything that we do. They're the reason why we do what we do. All behaviors become, from this point of view, an attempt to meet an unmet emotional need. And these are those emotional needs. So number 1, connection. So this is the need for deep, meaningful relationships, for empathy, for a sense of belonging, that desire to feel seen and heard and understood. It's all about relating. And as all human experience is about relationship, it's absolutely fundamental to us. You can also see the social evolutionary benefit of connection as well. In fact, most of these emotional needs sync up with and correlate with drivers of evolution, essentially. These are what have kept us alive. So number 2, security. It's the need for predictability, for stability, for protection from harm, both physically and emotionally, of feeling safe. Everybody wants to feel safe. So number 3, autonomy. So this is a massive one as well. This comes up in all sorts of different shapes and guises. It's essentially freedom. Excuse my poor handwriting. It's the need for independence, for freedom. the ability to make one's own choices, to have agency in the world. It also incorporates a sense of competency and ability to act and to have an effect in the world, and to not only be free to do certain things, but also freedom from the constraints and limitations and restrictions of others and other situations. Okay, number 4, meaning and purpose. So this is the need for significance. Deep down, everybody wants to feel that what they're doing is meaningful, that they have a sense of purpose. Loads of studies around depression have shown this too, and how so much of depression comes from a state of feeling meaninglessness and purposelessness, which breeds apathy. This sense of meaning, having a sense of direction or mission in life, it's got that driving energy behind it. It is just something that fundamentally makes people feel contented and proud when this need is perceived as being met. Okay, number 5, esteem. So esteem is the need for respect. Obviously in marketing we see this all the time. It's about a sense of recognition and a sense of personal worth. So much of marketing plays to this in terms of like aspirations and so on, but it's because it's a deep-seated emotional need that relates to social hierarchy, which again would have kept us alive on the savannas and in tribal situations for, since the dawn of man. Essentially, we are a social being, we're a social ape. This will be a huge part of that. Okay, number 6, honesty and authenticity. So if we think about that, why might that have an evolutionary benefit? Authenticity, going poor handwriting, sorry. This is that need for truthfulness, for integrity, for being genuine with oneself and with others. As we are starting to realise within the time of AI and deep fakes and huge disruption to the media landscape, lots of misinformation, disinformation and so on, the need for honesty and authenticity is such a huge part of being able to stay alive and have a functioning democracy or a functioning set of social relationships and networks. It's fundamental. Science essentially is an argument for honesty and authenticity in order to be able to have reliability and predictability, and feeds back into notions of security and so on. 7, comprehension. So not only do we need data that we can rely on through truthfulness, we also need to be able to understand it. I mean, that feeling of not knowing what to do or not understanding something, that then leads to the perception of that need not being met. And then how do we feel? Unsure, uncertain, overwhelmed, discombobulated. It's a great word. Those feelings are arising because there's a perception of that need not being met. And then when that need is perceived as being met, we feel able, we feel capable, we feel that we can do what we need to do. We can act on these other needs. We can achieve what it is that we're seeking to achieve. Things feel right in the world. That brings us a sense of contentment, of wholeness, of appreciation and ability. Again, feeding back into, they all interrelate and interconnect. Okay, so number 8, peace and beauty. A need for inner calm. A need for emotional balance and regulation, for harmony, for awe and reverence. It overlaps with the natural world, and for me, like the sky at night, it's that sense of grounding. It's that place of coming back to an inner stability and the opportunity to step away and for calms. If you constantly lived in a place where that need was not being perceived as being met, you'd feel probably very anxious, overwhelmed, fraught. It's not a good place to be. Likewise, when you perceive it as being met, it's fantastic. It's calm. its sense of stability and ease, its relaxation. It's all those wonderful good things. Okay, number 9, play. The need for spontaneity, for fun, for creativity. When that need is not being met, we feel incredibly stifled and bored and frustrated. Yet when it is being met, it is that just rush of positivity and of joyfulness, and of fun. And then finally, these are the 9 needs, hence we're called Source 9. But there is a 10th one in there, which I'm going to put at the top because it does kind of overarch all of these, and it interrelates with them as well. And it's physical well-being, which is this basic survival needs, about health and comfort, the freedom from disease and poor health, likewise to be in right relationship between the body and the mind, such that all of these things can be achieved. And there's a physiological response between these. So those unmet need states have a physiological impact on the body, and vice versa, the body has an impact on these again through physiology. That could be things, it could be hormonal, neurochemical, it can also be to do with posture, and like actual physical positioning of the body can have impacts on the brain as well. So that's it, that's how all those things work together. Now what the empathy framework does, let me just get rid of this, is taking that as the essence of human motivations to feel good and to move away from pain. We then recognize that what's happening is that our emotions are coming about in relationship to those needs, because we're perceiving those needs as either being met or not being met. So really simple ways to get started on this. Think about the emotional needs at play. Go back to what is really, really human. Why are people buying from you in the first place? And when you're looking to solve a particular problem, the first question should always be, why are things as they are? Develop as much insight as you can. Understand the why, not just the descriptive who, what, when, where, and what. And then once you've got that strong insight, you can then feed that into strategy. And more often than not, what happens here is your strategy writes itself once you can understand what the emotional motivations are that are driving people. Because if you know that they've got an unmet need for autonomy, then obviously the strategy is, well, we need to create a way of helping them to meet that need for autonomy. So already that's making strategic choices for you on where to place your attention and what to do. And that can spread out across all sorts of different touch points. Likewise, when it then gets into tactics, the tactics can always be informed back to the strategy. The job here to be done is to move people from the perception of their emotional needs for, let's say you're in a category where it's all about connection, autonomy, and peace. And I've actually seen that in the new build housing industry, and everything then was about these 3 things. It was about understanding how do we show them that they're going to be buying more connection by buying this house from us. How do we show them that it's going to enable them to have greater freedom and agency? How are we going to show them that it's going to be so much easier and so much less hard work than renovating a house? All those kinds of things. It just means that these become your North Star for everything you do, and simplifying what it is that you're doing and rooting you in the humanity of the customers that you're ultimately here to serve. And if you can serve them better than anyone else, you're on to a winner. Now, to find out what these categories are, we can look at the category and we can identify what the emotional needs are that are present within that category, why people are really buying, and then we can benchmark you against your competitors, and we can do that completely for free. So just contact me on LinkedIn or get hold of me somewhere around this video. We can do that for you. Next up from that, we can offer you Empathy Framework AI Connect, where we take all of your customer data and we run it through that AI. So then we're using actual real data to come up with these understandings. But what we really love doing is qualitative research. We love going out into the world with real human beings, doing ethnographies, doing focus groups, in-depth interviews, or whatever it is that the particular objectives that you're looking to achieve dictate, and how we collect that data with real people, understanding what moves them and why they really do what they do. If that's something you need help with, then we are here. Give me a shout, hit me up on LinkedIn. In the meantime, I hope that's been useful for you and you get some value from that. Until next time, thank you very much. I've been Rob and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.